This is K-Rockcast, the podcast where music and perspectives collide.
I'm Anne, a music lover who's the ultimate fan.
And I'm Kelly, a professional musician. Join us as we dive into the world of the Rose and other Korean and Asian rock bands.
Sometimes we'll agree, sometimes we'll wildly disagree, but what's guaranteed is a passionate, hilarious, and unfiltered conversation about the music that unites us and the bands that inspire us.
On today's show,
everybody, we are the Rose! Yes. You know, we missed you so much, and now we're here. And today, we have a special invitation just for you. Drum roll! The Rose has an official app. Yes. You are invited to the Rosarium, the Rose's official app. Come hang out with us, enjoy our community talk, whatever. And this Rosarium app includes
special behind the scene contents.
Mention party.
Never before seen videos.
Early access.
Oh no spoilers.
Okay, yeah.
We will be here to hang with you. Please have that in mind, and we're gonna, be here for you guys. Yeah, we can't wait to see you all there. Very excited to launch this, create our community, make it a little tighter and strong.
Oh yeah.
Yes. So please come join us in the Rosarium. We are the Rose. Thank you so much. Bye bye. The Rosarium.
Everybody, we're back. This is a special mini hot takes episode called Into the Fandom. So, Kelly, we have gotten quite a bit of requests from our listeners and viewers to talk about a certain topic, the Rosarium, that is, I think, kind of a sticking point right now for Black roses, to be kind of honest. And so, I feel honored. Our listeners, I think they have a lot of trust in what we say. Whether that's good or bad, I don't know.
Whether that's a good thing or not. It might be really bad. But
they honestly wanted us to address this. And so here we are. So we led off listeners and viewers with that video and on today's show. So if you're not familiar with what that video was released by The Rose when their fan app, the Rosarium, launched in July of 2023. Yeah. So almost close to like 2.5 years ago now. Yeah. And that video talks a lot about what their vision for the Rosarium was. And it's kind of interesting now, almost 2.5 years later, what kind of the reality of what the Rosarium is today. It's very different, isn't it, Kelly, from what we saw?
Very, very, very different. At this point, I feel like I need to insert Tumbleweed doing this.
Yeah, I mean, I think you and I are two very active people. And there's some other core Black roses that are also very, very active on the app. But the level of engagement by Black roses on that app has completely dropped significantly.
Yeah, it has. And to be perfectly honest, it's upsetting. But I'm not surprised because I hate to say, you only get out what you put in. And at the moment, nothing's being put in at all. So I think what we need to do to start off with is talk about how wonderful the little rose garden is, or was, or could be. So a lot of us met via the Rosarium. I have met some of my best friends through there, people that I trust with my life. They know me inside out, which is a worrying thought. And then I meet somebody like this lady. Hi, Anne. And this was all via this app. And it was a community of people feeling safe and as though they belonged. And that is a really wonderful thing. And I think we can honestly say that part of this project really and truthfully hit correctly. It was the best thing for it. It was fantastic. It was a really great idea. Now, you will have heard me say this before, and I'm going to say it again. And this is no disrespect to the guys at all. But there is a kind of feeling that every now and again, when they have various items like Discord or the Rosarium, it sometimes gets old toy syndrome. So it gets used with, it gets played for a while, and then it gets put to a side. We know they've picked up various apps as they've gone, but this is their app. This is their app. This has got their name on it. This isn't a piece of social media. It's not some new sort of, social media gadget that's suddenly come out. This is specifically for them. And it's kind of sad to see how little support and nourishment it's getting. Now, we expect it to be quiet when the guys aren't on tour, when they're taking a break, when they're recouping. And I mean, come on, Anne, we know they're not taking a break at the moment. We know they've probably had a week or two of bumming around, and then it's very quickly working on what is happening next, but quietly in the background. And it's one of those things where there are so many little things that could improve it, that could make it something fantastic. But there are questions with whether or not, I mean, I actually had somebody ask me the other day, and this is a very valid question, with the guys leaving the management of Transparent Arts, does that mean that the Rosarium app won't exist anymore? Because it depends who signed the contract. I mean, if the contract was signed by Transparent Arts, it would mean it would need to transfer over onto Windfall. Has that been done? Will it be done? Or was it signed directly with Windfall and Transparent Arts acted as a mediator, as the management, to help sort of any issues that was on the app? So there are questions there as to why it's quiet, but we saw this last year as well, from the Coachella period to the sort of to the start of sort of Sammy's foray into his solo work. It was very quiet in that period as well. I say it was quiet. We kept ourselves entertained, because while the cat's away, the mice will play, I think was the only way. And we basically used the app for its messaging board facilities. And I think a lot of people do. But the app wasn't designed as a glorified message board, as per the intro that we've just played. So what's your take on the current state of things, Anne?
Yeah, I think you're right. Like, it got kind of quiet after Coachella. I mean, that was really when I discovered like full in the rose and became a Black Rose. And so I was still so new. I was still going through all of the old content that was on there, getting to know people through the message board and starting to kind of build my relationships. Then Sammy launches 4444. So there was a lot of activity. And then really through the end of 2024, there was a lot of activity from the Rose. We had multiple weekly updates. You had, Jay Hyun at the time having J Flicks that would come out once a week. You had the song bite that you had to guess the song, that was so engaging and so fun. Like, I couldn't wait every week to get that little clip and then to think like, oh my God, can I guess what it is? And I would go through the discography of the Rose. So it was such a smart, strategic way that you are getting people going back and re-listening to your songs, because I would bring up the song and I would play it with the clip and I'd be like, is this song? Is this song? And by nature, I'm going through their discography. I'm streaming their songs. And then it was just fun. It was fun to see what everybody guessed. And then it was fun to come back a few days later and see if you were right. And then we had a pick from Sammy and some really nice like quote, you know, every week. And then we had the beauty of the Rose Couch, and we had this wonderful video content that people looked forward to every week. And so I think they did a phenomenal job continuing to engage everyone throughout 2024. Then you went into 2025 when Sam ended his solo tour. The band obviously did this major pivot in whatever they were doing with their album. They completely scrapped that or put it on the shelf, whatever it might be. They had to go into their writing session in December. And then you had drips on the Rosarium. So you still had Hajun doing lives or Taegyum doing lives through the Rosarium. You had Hajun very regularly putting posts out on the Rosarium. But you really had nothing from Dojun. You had nothing from Wuzong. And so really people just started to, I think, get very jaded at the lack of use of the Rosarium and lack of the Rose coming on and engaging directly with their fans, you know, through it. Even though Hajun and Taegyum were still, I think, using it on a fairly regular basis to at least put posts out. We didn't have any of these more targeted fan engagement strategies happening that were happening at the end of the year. And so that has just continued throughout 2025 to only wean further and further back to the point where even throughout the tour, they've really stopped putting out photos. I think what I've found is it is disappointing. It's disappointing for them not to use it. And I think, I'll be honest, I go back and forth and I feel a little torn. So it's like one side of me as a fan is just like, feed me, Seymour. Like, I want you to tell me what you're doing today. I want to know, you know, how you're doing. Why can't you come on and say hi? You know, I have that side of me. I'm not going to lie. And then I have the other side of me that's like, Anne, you know what? They have a lot going on. And is it right of me to want that? But is there a balance that they can find? You know, it's like, I don't know the right answer of like, how often should they come on? You know, how much content should they be putting out through it? So I think I don't know exactly what the right answer is. I think they can do more. I would like to see them, you know, do more. Do I need them doing the amount of content they did at the end of 2024? Because that was a lot. They were putting out 3 major pieces of content throughout the week, every week,
but
plus
again,
the Rose Couch.
This goes back to us very sort of sarcastically referring to one of the podcasts as Into the Love Bomb. Because what happens with the guys is it's like they have this huge idea, they ball it all up together and they go, right, let's get it out. And they just throw it, they just lob it. And it all comes out at once. And it's like you get overload and then nothing. And it is like, it's like love bombing. You don't want to do that. You want to just gently, continually drip feed. That's what you want to do. And then you ramp it up as you get to your tour. And then you drip through the tour. And then you can slow it down again. But it has to be continual. It doesn't have to be every day. It doesn't have to be, oh, I've just had my breakfast. These are the shoes I'm wearing today. Hello, how is everybody? It doesn't need to be that. It could just literally be popping by to say hi or yo or whatever. That's all it needs to be because it generates this. Yeah, I find
I think
bewildering.
I think some of the criticism, which I also think is valid from Black Roses, is that while their engagement on the Rosarium has waned, we do see them still, not Sam, but everybody else is
Yeah.
on Instagram.
Instagram.
When they've gone live, they go live on Instagram or YouTube.
YouTube.
I mean, I don't know. I'm trying to think the last time. I'm trying to think of if when they went live back in the like spring to announce kind of some of that on the world tour. I don't think they did anything through the Rosarium.
No, they didn't. Nothing at all.
Yeah. I mean, the last thing I can definitely remember through the Rosarium was Sammy doing lives through the Rosarium to promote 4444.
Yeah.
And then Hajun doing some, I think, through the Rosarium in like December,
Yeah,
maybe
he did some
something
on the run
like
for Christmas.
that.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, he did.
Yeah. Yeah. So we're talking a year possibly since like really the last like live stream they did through the Rosarium only. So they seem to be continually drip feeding content through something like Instagram, making posts and putting stories out, but not using the Rosarium in the same way is another criticism.
So the thing that drives me mad is you have got this app, which is a very basic app. Most people out there will understand how an app works. Most people understand how you generate a news feed in an app. The last news update was Coachella. These things shouldn't have to be uploaded. These things should be on an RSS feed, folks. While Anne was talking earlier on, you saw me look down and I was actually just checking on my phone, which was the last batch of photographs that had been added from the tour just to the main page. And I believe it was Texas. This is Editor Cal, and apparently I didn't look at my phone properly. I would have actually noticed it was in fact the Florida show. So we've still got a whole swathe of America left, and South America, Asia, and the festivals to go. And part of me is wondering whether or not this is kind of strategic because of swapping over of hands and businesses, and whether it is that, or whether they're just like, meh, I forgot my password. There are so many things on there that I just, it's kind of heartbreaking because, right, I'm putting business hat on now, so I'm gonna talk as somebody who runs a record label. If I had a band and I said, look, we've got this great idea, we're going to give you an app, and this app is going to be your central hub for your community. And it's going to give you news. You're going to be able to post on there. You can do lives on there. You've got your merch through there, etc., etc., etc. I just need you to come up with a plan of how you want to divide and conquer it, because that's basically it. And we're going to charge a premium membership. So anybody can join, but they just get to see the dribs and drabs. So they get to see the news and some of the posts on the front page, and they can buy the merch. But if they really want to sort of help and promote you, we'll charge them a small fee each month. That's fine. Not so fine when it's a glorified messaging board and every single social media app in the world has a glorified posting board, basically. I mean, it's all what social media is. It's just one big posting board, but you're being charged for the privilege of this one because it's got Rose branding. I'm sorry, guys. I don't mean to sound negative, but you're actually doing yourself out of business. You have something that, as from a marketing standpoint, is perfect. It could be one of your greatest marketing tools. Two, from a perspective of your community of Black Roses, it is there as a safe place for them to be able to also know that they're interacting with the band as well, because we know there are other issues on social media platforms. At least, you know, when one of the guys posts on the Rosarium, it's actually them posting. If they make a comment on one of your posts, you know it's them that's interacting with you. You know it's not somebody sat in a basement somewhere in Taiwan pretending to be them on a scam deal. We've got all these things. And then on top of that, it could just be a centralized tool that could help form and push everything that they need going forward. Yes, you could see it as doubling up all of your efforts on other social media. But when we say it's exclusive content, it doesn't have to be exclusive just to the Rosarium. The exclusivity of it could be a timed exclusivity of it. The fact that the Rosarium gets it first and then it gets pushed out everywhere else. That could be another way of looking at it. There are so many ways of looking at this in a business point of view, and it's just not. It's falling flat. It really is. And it kind of baffles me.
Yeah.
That this is being
I mean, I guess my perspective, I go back to the stuff that we said and I said and into the future. I think it's interesting you brought up the point of the transition of the contract with Transparent Arts. Obviously, we don't know the terms and conditions on exactly what services Transparent Arts provided, but I have to assume a lot of those services are things related to these kind of marketing strategies or use of this tool. I think I keep going back to the fact that there are literally 3 other employees besides the 4 members of the band as part of Windfall. And I think it continues. This to me is another example that they are truly struggling. They are struggling to maintain the level of a band that the Rose has gotten to be now. They're not some little indie, just getting tiny gigs in Hyundai kind of band anymore. They are an international band that has, I don't know, hundreds of thousands, millions of followers, I guess. I haven't looked at their, social media or whatever, millions of followers. And so I think that's just, to me, and you said this in the future. And I remember I kept saying the same thing back. Are these things hard? No, they're not hard. Do they take time? And do they take a person or people dedicated? Yes. If you do not have people dedicated, then these things are not probably the top priority and maybe can't be the top priority. And I think, unfortunately, it's hurting them right now.
It really
is. It's really, really hurting them. And I really hope that however this transition happens with Transparent Arts, with the Rose and Windfall truly being independent on their own, they have to be thinking about this fan engagement strategy. They have to be thinking about how are they going to prioritize something like maintaining the Rosarium, because it's only going to hurt, and it is hurting them. It's already hurt them, but it's only going to hurt them more.
At the end of the day, how many people do we know that have actually already left? They've cancelled the membership.
A lot.
I know a lot. I personally know a lot that have cancelled the membership. And that's kind of baffling and heartbreaking in equal measure.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, and back to a business point of view, it's their bottom line. Because, I mean, the amount of money that is involved with this, I mean, a good percentage of it will be taken for the admin and upkeep and running of the actual app. They're going to get to a point where they actually crash below break even, and they're not even going to be able to maintain it because they're not getting the amount of money. And I hate to say it, and this is the only way I can put it. I think at the moment, a lot of people use it a bit like a gym membership. They take it out with all the best intentions in the world that they're going to use it, and because they go, nah, it was a bit busy that day, or there was nobody there. I got there and there was nobody there to help. There wasn't the equipment that I wanted, and they just go, nah, I won't bother. But they forget to cancel the subscription. And I think that's the only thing that's keeping it afloat, to be perfectly honest, which sounds so atrocious of me, but I've got to be honest and truthful with it. From a business point of view, I find it embarrassing, to be honest.
So let's wrap this hot takes into the fandom up with maybe some positivity. So what do we want to see? What do we think the Rosarium can come back to? What's our hope?
What's
the Rose, if you're listening? I always say that, don't I, Kelly?
Yeah,
the Rose, if you're listening.
Dudes, fingers out now. Come on, we're giving you support here. Listen.
We're not going to charge you, Clive, for these ideas.
Yeah,
okay.
fine.
Kelly
Come
wants
on.
me to invoice you, but we're not on this one.
Oh, well, this isn't a freebie. We're invoicing him. Dude's getting an invoice. Look, I know I've done consultancy work before, but this is pushing it. Come on. Right. So, what I would like to see is I would like to see an app which has a decent structured community in there to actually have news as it comes through, which, as I've already stated, that's not hard, folks. I would like to see a little bit more participation from the guys. And I mean, if they can't keep on top of his exclusive content, don't do it as exclusive content. Just post on the Rosarium first. That's all you need to do. I mean, there's nothing to stop them just swinging by every now and again and just going, "Hi, folks, are you all right?" You don't even need to reply to stuff. Just, "Hello, we're alive. Are you lot alive?" Just, it's like a tender in a fire. Just poke it every now and again. That's all you need to do. Yeah, I mean, it was a great app. I mean, yes, it's fantastic. I mean, the reason that I joined was because when the tour was announced, the girl that was going with me to the tour has had severe anxiety disorder, and I decided I was going to be nice and I was going to buy VIP so we could get in early, and she wasn't going to be stood with 10,000 people trying to get into an arena. And that's why I took it out. And then obviously I ended up talking to people, which isn't really a me thing. I like to keep in my lane every now and again, but I ended up talking because she cancelled at the last minute because it was all too much for her, the anxiety one, which was great because obviously I met people like Anne and people that I've literally travelled around the world with. And that's fantastic. But to keep it going, you've got to generate it, or you have got to have moderators on there. So this is the other thing. And here we go. Right, Anne, do the invoice. Consultancy fees.
Yep.
Yeah, make a note. We need a note making on this. So you need moderators
Absolutely.
on there. So we've got an admin on there, but the admin's just there to sort out whatever issue it is. Have a moderator on there. Just have people who have a moderator tag that can go in and go, whatever day it is, let's throw a question out there. I mean, we sat there like Sophie, sort of stoking calcifying bloody Howl's Moving Castle. It's like, come on. Oh!
Yeah.
And one of the things as well that I think it's also annoyed a lot of people is, and I think this might have been to do with the advent of an issue that was raised in the UK. So over in the UK, they passed a law regarding what information can go through to minors. And this includes certain levels of speech as well. So a lot of the apps had a full knee-jerk reaction to this and just put like a blanket-wide ban on words. So a lot of people were noticing. So the trauma single came out and people go,
"Oh, yeah.
My post got took down. What happened to my post? Did I do something wrong?" Come on, this is me. I like learning shit. And so one of the things that they do is you can have a parameter put on to actual coding, and anything that highlights as a trigger word will be dropped and automatically blocked and edited. So, and of course, trauma is classed as a trigger word. So here's people talking about this new single that they love, and the engagement's not there, and it just keeps dropping out all the time because the posts keep vanishing. And I mean, it's not like anybody was saying anything truly bad, but that had a negative connotation. And thankfully,
I think people thought that this mysterious administrator, which I don't even think there is any administrator personally, but that there's this mysterious administrator reading every post and that took your post down, and people started getting like really upset. And I think it actually was you that brought and realized this and kind of started to post and make people aware. We have to be thoughtful of the words that we might be using, not even spoken in, you know, this like negative context, like the word trauma or something like that.
Yeah,
I think one of
exactly.
mine, because I think I used the word weirdo.
Yeah, I used the word weirdo
And I
too.
think that got,
Well, that's our
yeah,
love
I think the
language
word
to each other, isn't
weirdo
it?
got
You weirdo.
construed. Yeah. So I think that was something that, yeah, definitely ruffled feathers.
It
I
did.
mean, as we wrap up, I think for me, yeah, I want the guys, to take a step back. I
Yeah.
hope right now what they're doing overall is just they need to be focusing on some strategy.
They do.
They tend
Definitely.
to a lot of times shoot from the hip. They
Yeah.
tend to go off feeling. They tend to take themselves in the direction of where the wind is blowing. And I
Yeah.
think right now, I think if they are going to, like I said, in the future, if they want, and maybe they don't want, and that's okay if this isn't what they want, but if they want to continue to climb, if they want to rise, like I think the former title of that album was, I'm still hanging on to that in case it ever comes out. If they want to rise, they have to have a strategy. And part of the strategy has to be fan engagement. And I think whether the Rosarium is part of the fan engagement strategy or whether they come up with an alternative strategy, I think they can't forget that they have to engage with their fans.
They do. They really,
they
really
do. At the end of the
Yeah,
day,
they've got it.
they
Yeah.
have to engage with their fans.
Yeah.
So that's kind of my hope. We'll see what they come out with, you know, what their next direction is. I'm hanging in there in the Rosarium.
Same
I think
here.
you are too for
Yeah.
now anyway.
Is that the sign of lunacy when you do that? That is, isn't it? That's
I think
technically
it is. I think I'll continue to play moderator and put out my little prompts and try to get people excited and engaged. I can't help myself. I love the Rose. I love their music. I love what they stand for. And I'm always just look at it as I'm here to support them and champion them in any way we can. And if right now they need help from us as Black Roses, I'm here to help. So,
I mean, I don't support them at all, do I? Because I'm sat talking bollocks about them all the time.
All right, everybody, let us know what you think. This is kind of a hot topic, so hit us up in DMs, a comment on this episode. Let us know what you think about the Rosarium. What do you want to see kind of the future of the Rose and using the Rosarium? Follow us on social media on TikTok, Instagram, X, and YouTube. We are KRock_cast all across the board.
Click here to subscribe.
This is Anson. You are watching and listening to K-Rock Cast. Check out their podcast and K-Rock Recommends for my music and other great independent artists.
Hit us on an email, particularly on this topic. Kelly answers all of our emails, so we would love to hear your thoughts via email if you want to talk to us a little more about this topic of the Rosarium. You can email us at krock.cast@gmail.com. Check out our Patreon. Thank you so much to all of our Patreon members. With Patreon, when you join, you can have access to exclusive content. There will be some bloopers coming from this episode. So check that out. If you want some fun behind the scenes from Patreon. We also have virtual hangouts that we've started and much, much more. And check out our website, www.krockcast.com. All right, everybody. See you in the next episode. Bye-bye.
Bye.